Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show. Now look, Jack is about to take care of his business. He has to. This is why he joined the gang. I know a lot of people think about, different reasons that other people join gangs. This was not the typical reason people join gangs. He wanted his lick back, and his seller had given him an opportunity to get it. And I know that a lot of people look at this situation and say, well, he should have took care of business on his own. Easier said than done. This man, Tim, has shown him a face of a monster. Now, I want y'all to imagine, somebody in your life that you're not afraid of, but you've seen a side of them that nobody else has seen. And it concerns you. See, this is Jack's situation. He's seen a side of this person, right, that was a monster. Think about being cornered in a room, right, that is about double the size of one of your closets out there, okay? And it's got a bed in it, bunk bed, a sink and a toilet, and a table, and some shelves, and some places to where to put the TV. So it's not that big. And when he cornered Jack off, he had nowhere to run. He was green when it came to trying to handle himself and stop him from being able to do what he wanted to do. And he's not a punk. He's not weak. But he couldn't beat him off. And in prison, y'all, that's why I always say, everybody's talking about, they about this life and you think you cut out for this. Listen to me. You got some real monsters in the world. And in here, some situations, that monster is your cellie. And just because they've been put in prison don't mean that they're not monsters anymore. Okay? They take prey where they can get it. They're like scavengers. That's what they are. They're like scavengers, waiting on somebody that's vulnerable and weak to come along the way they define being vulnerable and weak. Somebody like Jack that was green and naive to the things of how prison worked. See, somebody like Tim sees that as weakness. That's not weakness. It's taking advantage of him. And see, Tim, if he knew any better, which he doesn't, he would have left. And he didn't. Because see, Tim, in his mind, I need y'all to understand what both of these guys' minds are at, okay? Tim's mind is saying to him, excuse me, I'm not running from this boy. And Tim knows he's a boy, the way he sees the world anyway, because he made him a boy. What does that mean? What does that mean? He made him a boy. In Tim's mind, what he did to Jack took all of his manhood, excuse me, away from him. I want you to understand what that's like. This man was violated. He was violated. He did not want that. He did not deserve that. But see, Tim in his sickness, he took it. Excuse me, let me take me a sip of this water. Well, lemonade. I got some lemonade, y'all. I'm going to take me a nice sip. I don't know what's going on with me. Yeah, that might do it for a minute. Now back to the story. Now see, Tim, he thinks that Jack is a boy. Somebody in the penitentiary, when you call somebody a boy in here, you slick dehumanizing. It's like somebody that's racist calling a person of color nigger. You understand? That's what that label is in here. It's dehumanizing another man, another person, another human being. And in Tim's mind, that's what Jack was. And he didn't care if he did belong to a gang. He's still a boy. It's kind of like, somebody that works out all the time, gets real big, but if he ain't got no heart, I don't care how much weight he lifted. See, and Tim was comparing Jack that way, I don't care who's around him. He's still a boy. And when the moment came for him to actually put in work, he believed that Jack was going to fold like he did in that cell when he attacked him. That's what he was thinking. But see, Jack Man, look here. When you get motivated by something like revenge, anger, there's no telling what you do. You ever heard the saying, you know what I'm saying, when you corner a rat, he'll come out fighting? See, Jack had felt cornered. Those 8 or 9 months that he was in the back, trying to figure out how he was going to navigate the rest of his time in the penitentiary, knowing what had happened to him, and then those old heads that talked to him, that didn't see him as somebody that's weak, that didn't see him as a boy, but saw him as somebody that had been taken advantage of by somebody in prison that was sick. They schooled him, they encouraged him, they talked to him, they kept his spirits up. Now, living with that in the back of your mind, it's hard, man. It's hard. But see, Jack had decided he wasn't finna be no victim. He wasn't gonna do it. Was he a victim of a violent attack? Yes. But he wasn't gonna receive what that meant to a lot of people. See, a lot of people take that victim's label and they wear it in a way that prevents them from moving forward. See, and Jack refused to do that. He refused to do that. Tim was banking on him not being able to move forward. See, fear will paralyze you. Y'all know that. Y'all know it'll paralyze you. So let me show you what happened. Let me tell you. So Jack is in the cell with his cellar. They kicking it around right now. They brothers now, you know what I'm saying, gang brothers. And he's telling them what he's going to do and all this and that. So that night, Jack Seller had been told by the heads of the gang to give him a butcher first thing in the morning. Because they said when he goes in there, he wants to make sure that he comes out a winner. Now, they was going to let him go in by himself, but he wasn't going to be by himself. Let me explain to y'all, you know what I'm saying, when it goes down with this gang stuff, right? See, sometimes you can get a one. A one is just where you and the person going to cell, y'all get them up. Let it do what it do. Whoever wins, that's what it is. At the end of the fight, it's over, right? But see, when a gang is trying to send a message, they might send him in there by himself. But the very second, the very millisecond, it looks as though he might lose, they're coming. They're not going to let their brother lose. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to tolerate it. They're not going to do it. So Jack was going to get a butcher that morning. But see, his seller, he had other ideas too, right? He wanted him to be well prepared. So look, you know, on the weight pile, it's made of concrete right on the yard, right? Weight pile, all concrete. And see, on the corners of the weight pile, you can see where time has worn it off. And, you know, people break off little bit of pieces of concrete, you know what I'm saying, every now and then. But see, if you drop the heavy enough weight on the corner of the slab of concrete that's used for the weight pile, you can break off a piece. And see, his seller, Jack Seller, had broke off a piece of that concrete. Man, got him a nice old brick. Nice old brick, y'all. I'm telling you, nice old brick. But see, he didn't want him to take it in the cell in his hand because dude will see it. See, this wasn't going to be one of them situations where they pat each other down and they go on in the cell. Now, this is going to be a bum rush. This one's going to be a bum rush. So see, so Jack Seller, he took that piece of brick. It was about as big as a softball. Let's say that. Y'all know how big a softball is. Maybe a little bit smaller, right? Maybe a little bit smaller. And it was that rough, rugged concrete pieces. You know what I'm saying? The kind got them edges on it. It'll cut you. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't smooth brick like somebody building a house. No. This was cutting concrete. You touch it the wrong way, boy, I'm telling you, you're going to get your cut deep on your hand. You're going to have to clean it out with some alcohol. So his seller took it and put 2 socks around it. Put them down in the sock, wrapped it up. And he was showing him how to hold it, right? See, what you do when you got something like that, because in here, a lot of times you use batteries and other stuff, right? But you take that, you put something in the sock and you tie it off about halfway because you want it to be able to stretch out a little bit, but you don't want it to be too far because it'll swing back around and hit you. You understand what I'm saying? You got to know your battle in here, right? How to get down. So he tied it off about halfway and he showed Jack how to swing it. Short chopping swings like jabs. You know, when you jabbing at somebody fighting, that's how he was showing him how to go in there swinging it at him and catching him off guard, right? Because what they were going to do is this. They were going to catch him that morning. It's gonna catch him that morning. So they practiced all night. And Jack, he couldn't get no sleep. He lay on that bunk just thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? And for a minute, fear crept in. Made him feel like, man, if he get out on me, what's gonna happen? Yeah, he been told that his brother's gonna be right there, but he ain't really sure. Man, this cough. Y'all excuse me again. Let me take another sip of this lemonade. Yeah. So, he ain't really sure that they're gonna be there because he ain't never been in a situation like this to know that they mean what they say. So check this out. Morning time came. They went to breakfast. Everybody come back from breakfast. You could see something is about to happen because everybody's moving and they're quiet and they're deliberate about what they're doing. And all the other gangs, they see something's up. They see something's about to happen. You gotta keep in mind that the heads of organizations let the other heads know, just so they'll be prepared in case it gets too nasty and they'll lock the institution down. All right. So here's the thing: people know what's about to happen, and most of them are with it. They with it. But see, it's one dude. It's this one old head that been around a long time. He a gang member too, but he liked Tim. Him and Tim knew each other way back in the day. And see, a lot of people don't know, but see, this particular gang member, gang leader, really, he's a booty bandit too, but he undercover with his. You feel me? He undercover. And I'll tell y'all another story about that, how a lot of these booty bandits infiltrated a lot of these organizations and flipped them into what they are today. But that's another story for y'all. But check this out. So he let Tim know, be careful. They about to try you. He don't tell him when because he don't know. They're just putting him on notice. It's going to happen today though. But he don't know. So now Tim is walking around. Look here, when you know your life in danger in the penitentiary, you walking around with a mean mug on all day, sweating hard, or you run to them police and check in. Tim had already decided that's not what he was going to do. He wasn't finna do that. He wasn't finna check in. So check this out. He watching. And he's sitting at the table. He get up from the table, put his back up against the wall right next to his cell. He's not letting anybody get up behind him, around him, or near him without letting them know he's watching them. You feel me? So now, Jack and his other brothers, they come into the pod. And 3 or 4 of them go down each side of the pod. They just walking, casual. And Jack is like 3rd or 4th in that line on each side that they walking down the sides of the pod. It's about to happen. Now Tim, he see it. Ain't no way out. Because they all in front of him. His back is against the wall. Normally, that would be the safest place. But see, he had made a mistake. He should have locked himself in the room, but he didn't want people to think he was scared and didn't want to be out. That's another one of those penitentiary things that mess with your mind. Having you thinking you got to put on a certain way when it's not to your advantage. You got to live to fight another day, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So check this out. Jack walking up on him. See, all the other brothers, they stopped where they was at. Jack walking up on him. Tim leans up off the wall looking at him. They both square off. And all of a sudden, you hear one of the other brothers say, "Get him." And just that 1 second right there made Tim look to see if somebody was finna rush and get him. And that's when Jack reached around the back and grabbed that sock that he had tucked in his pants, right? Had that brick in it. He grabbed it. Quick as he grabbed it, he came around and he swung. Pop! Hit Tim right in the temple. Dropped him to his knees. He threw his arm up trying to block. But see, Jack had been practicing all night on how to get in, right? So he flipped that sock to the other hand and flipped it and hit him with an uppercut and flipped that brick up, hit him right in his face, lifted him up. Now he fell back against the wall. And now the other brothers, they ran over there. They pulled the cell door open. See, Tim's cell was right there. They didn't want it to be in front of everybody. They pulled the cell door open and they drug him up in there. And they told Jack, get on up in there, take care of your business, get your lick back. So they drugged Tim on up in there. He cried. He said, man, hold on, man. I ain't never done nothing to y'all. I don't know why y'all doing this, man. Do the boy. Look, one of the gang brothers, they kicked him in his face. And, watch your mouth. Talking about my brother. Laid him flat on the floor. Jack standing over him, looking at him. He said, yeah, now it's my turn now. He stood over the top of him. He took that brick and he just started hitting him hard as he could, fast as he could. He hitting him. But see, Tim laying on his back. And when he landed on his back, he looked over. See, when you in your cell now, you got to keep in mind now. You got to keep in mind, when you're in the penitentiary, you always have some spots to where, you got stuff hid, where you could, might be able to need to take care of your business real fast and all this and that. And right up under the bunk, he had a pocket knife taped to the side of the bed. Now, see, while Jack is beating him with that brick, he got enough consciousness still in him to be reaching. Jack ain't paying no attention while he reaching for that butcher. At the last second, Jack looked over there and he seen it. He seen him when he was coming out with that butcher. He was about to hit Jack right there in his side. And he grabbed his arm and he stopped it. And then he took that brick. He got it in his hand. Now he done wrapped it all up. He got it in his hand with his fingers around it, holding that brick in his hand just like he was about to throw it. You understand? And he raised his hand up as hard as he could. And he came down as hard as he can and crushed it right in the forehead. Crushed it. Tim fell out. He was unconscious. His arms went limp. He's out. Jack's still on top of him, straddling him. Some of the brothers, they step inside and said, man, you done? You straight? He looked down at him and he got up. Walked up out the cell. Went back to his cell. Got cleaned up. When he finished getting cleaned up, they took the rock, the brick, the blood on his shirt, his clothes. They took all that. The butcher that they had, they took all that. Got rid of it. The next day, they was on lockdown. You're going to have to tune in to the next episode to hear about how this thing played out, right? Because I got some more to tell y'all about this, okay? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting so tired.